Welcome back to episode 73 of In the Shadow of the Evening Trees. I'm Jen Von Ebers.
I'm Dave Von Ebers. I was pretending to direct things.
Yeah, and
click.
We need to get one of those things.
If you're listening on the audio instead of watching the video, we're just being goofy. But
yes, we have to start the video first.
I was gesturing with my hand to start.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
So we're back.
We are back.
Welcome back to another episode, and happy day after Valentine's Day.
And what episode is this?
Episode 73.
You probably already said that, but when you're
I'm not sure.
When you're old and senile like me,
episode 73.
It's episode 73. Happy Valentine's Day.
Our cat was asleep.
Yes.
She's not been up here. We shut the door to this room, and immediately she's crying.
She's crying, so I'm going to let her in.
Okay.
And that's how we start the show.
That's the start of every show. And actually, last week she jumped from a dresser that's onto here and stopped our whole video.
And we kept talking because the video kept going because we use the
and then we
phone
didn't realize it was actually not recording on the podcast.
The audio had stopped, and we're yammering on, and then we're trying to figure out where the audio part stopped, and anyway, it was a whole complicated thing.
It was a lot of difficult editing that we didn't need to have to necessarily
Thank goodness we have a great sound engineer.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on in, Gordy. Join the fun.
She's like, I'm coming right in. So we'll see if she cooperates.
We'll see how much of a fiasco this turns out to be. This is a very professional podcast, as you may know.
We nothing but the finest here.
Nothing but the finest. And we actually have a niece who's a professional sound engineer.
Yes.
We should actually get her involved.
Yeah.
Then we'd have to pay her, though. So yeah.
Exactly. Then that's
sorry about that.
Super professional.
You mentioned that it was Valentine's Day. We had a very romantic Valentine's Day yesterday. We ate pizza and shoveled snow.
Yes.
Welcome to the Midwest.
I did get flowers, though, so thank you very much for my flowers. They were stunning.
You're welcome. I did not actually put the bouquet together. I can't take credit for that.
Yes, you're like, can you have 4 of these, 3 of these?
That's the thing is that I guess if you go to a florist, actually go physically into the store, you can do much more in terms of...
Well, and there used to be a florist that was by us, and for those who are watching, these are the flowers.
It is. They did a
Stunning.
Nice job. I will say.
And David has always done, when I get flowers, an arrangement of colors. So they're not all roses or anything. They're all unusual pieces, which I love. So thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. And I do that for like a couple of reasons. One is, roses are lovely, but it also, it's kind of like I don't want to say cliche because people love them, and if you buy them, that's great. But I think the variety is nice. But the other advantage, which I didn't really even think about when I first did that, is that the florist will, you look at a picture online or you go to the florist and you see an arrangement there. It's not going to be exactly the same as that.
Right.
It's going to be, whatever they have that's available. So it's going to look a little bit different and a little bit, sort of original each time. So I think, because the picture on the website, since I went to the same way, looked exactly like it was last year.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I like this one. Hopefully it won't look exactly the same way. And if I was going to scroll back on my phone because you'd sent me a picture last year, just go find the picture. And then I'm like, well, of the choices, this is what I think is the best, so I'm going to take my chance. And it turned out to be a little bit different.
Yes,
so
it was
that
beautiful.
Was nice.
And we have a date tonight.
We do. We do.
With each other.
I was going to be like, you do?
Yeah.
Where are you going? But that's why we had pizza and shoveled snow last night.
Yes, and we're not supposed to get any more snow tonight, so we will not be thwarted. Yeah. Our plans will not be canceled. So that's good.
And we knew exactly what was going to happen because we got a little bit of snow in December, very little in January, not much at the beginning of February. And so we knew it was coming. Yeah. And between now and the end of March, we're going to get the entire winter's worth of snow.
Pretty much.
So there.
Yeah, no bueno. And I just want to also point out that every time that we've recorded this, I've always had a hat on and everything because... I'm not ready yet for the day, kind of thing. So I haven't gotten there. We had our walking club this morning, so we walked in. We trudged in snow through the woods. It was difficult for.
It was. It absolutely was, but it was really not. It was very It was beautiful.
Peaceful.
It was peaceful because it was quiet. Although the people behind us were talking a lot. No, I'm kidding. They were talking a lot.
They were.
But they're friends of ours.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the place that we went to is actually in our town. And when we looked up the directions of where this park was, because we had never been there before, it was less than a mile from our house. So we're like, why don't we just walk from our house? So we walked with them and then walked back. Yeah. So according to my phone, it was like 6 miles. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we always do this thing where I have an app on my phone called Map My Walk.
And I have my Apple Watch.
There's a Map My Walk and there's a Map My Run. You can use both of them for either running or walking. It doesn't really matter because they do the same thing. But I feel bad using the Map My Run walk because I'm not a runner anymore. So I feel like that's cheating. So I use Map My Walk. But we always compare notes at the end.
Yeah. And mine is always farther distance.
Always different.
Yeah.
Every single time.
So we go with that one.
Yeah,
I go with that
exactly
one.
Right. Exactly right.
Because that's what counts.
And you mentioned hats today. I'm wearing my not so subtle University of Illinois College of Law hat.
Yes.
Because it's a protest as I support the rule of law. Which is a scarce commodity today. And I'm also wearing Bruce. We have a special guest, Bruce Springsteen, is in the studio with us.
Yes.
In the form of a t-shirt.
And I also have a Bruce Springsteen t-shirt, but I do not know where it is at the moment.
I will say this though, we bought both of our t-shirts at when we saw Bruce at Croke Park in Dublin in May of last year.
Yes.
And I want to say that I think the Europeans have a different idea of what an extra large is, because
is it a medium?
It's kind of like a medium in America, but you can't see it in the video because it's obscured by things. But it shows off my guns.
It does.
Yeah.
Welcome to the gun show.
Yeah. Right. Oh my goodness.
But we were going to talk about a few things today, and one of the things that we participated in this week was a kickoff, I guess you could call it. I guess it was a kickoff.
Yeah.
Kickoff Zoom. No, it was a Teams meeting. It wasn't Zoom.
It was Teams. You are correct.
But we are participating in the Bon Foster Gala event that is going to happen at the Art Institute in May. And David was on the committee last year, and then he's like, "Do you want to do it with me this year?" And I was like, "Sure." So we.
Do you want to raise all the money?
Okay.
No,
that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you called me in, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Because people like you.
But it was really nice because it was a call with probably about 8 or 9 other people who are on the committee of organizing the event and everything. So you can kind of tell them what the Bon Foster event is. Because, we've talked about it before, but we'll just talk about it again because we're going to bring it up over the next few months.
Repeatedly. Repeatedly. We're going to ask you to give, and then we're going to ask you to give more.
Right.
Keep digging deep. Whatever you think you can afford, double it. So Lambda Legal is one of the oldest and largest and most successful LGBTQ plus legal rights and legal advocacy organizations, civil rights and legal advocacy organizations in the country. They've been around for, I want to say, 51 years. I think last year was the 50th anniversary. They started out in New York City. They actually, the first lawsuit they brought was against the state of New York because the state of New York would not allow them to organize as a charitable organization under New York law because it didn't consider advocating for LGBTQ plus rights and the rights of people with HIV to be, a social interest sort of thing back then. So Lambda Legal actually had to sue for the right to be registered as a not-for-profit organization under New York law. They won that lawsuit. The first of many suits they've won. They've been litigating for LGBTQ plus rights and the rights of people with HIV for decades now. So that's a bit of background about the organization as a whole. They've, as I said, been advocating for LGBTQ plus rights and the rights of people with HIV for 51 years. The local branch or region, however you want to describe it, the Midwest region, is headquartered in Chicago, As I said, the national organization is headquartered in New York City. They have a number of regional offices, and there's one in Chicago. What's kind of special about the Chicago office, the Midwest region, to us, is that the person who actually endowed this, in other words, left the money to establish this particular office in Chicago was a former colleague of mine, a guy by the name of Bon Foster, who was a brilliant lawyer. He and I both started out at a law firm in Chicago called Jenner and Black back in 1987, and our offices were near one another. We were friends and obviously colleagues. He very sadly passed away at I don't know his exact age at the time, but he was young.
Yes.
He passed away at a young age. That's what I meant to say. And, left the money to endow the establishment of the Midwest office of Lambda Legal in Chicago. And so every year, the Chicago or the Midwest region has a function in the city of Chicago called the Bon Foster Civil Rights Celebration. As Jennifer said, last year I was on the host committee. And then this year we're both on the host committee.
We also walked in the parade.
And we also
last
walked
summer.
in the Chicago Pride Parade with Lambda, which was really cool. And we've gotten to know a number of people associated with it. One of my oldest friends, I've known since high school, has a son who works for Lambda Legal. And his son...
I can also call him my lifelong friend because I've known him for over 30 years.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
I mean,
That's
it's kind of
exactly
like,
right.
when you think about it, it's like, it's your friend, but I've known him for decades. So he's my lifelong friend too.
That's right.
And his wife.
And his wife, they have a son who works for Lambda Legal, and their son actually reached out to me last year, so that's kind of how I got involved. But it's a great organization. Lambda as a whole has, filed multiple lawsuits against anti-LGBTQ plus.
There's a lot.
Legislation and executive orders and so forth. I want to say they won something like 12 out of 15 lawsuits against the first Trump administration. They've had some pretty good success already. In fact, just on Friday, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order in a case that Jenner and Black, my old law firm, and Lambda Legal and some other organizations brought on behalf of PFLAG, the Parents and Friends of Lesbian and Gay organization, which obviously is expanded beyond lesbian and gay people, includes the entire community. But they filed a lawsuit to enjoin enforcement of Trump's ban on transgender youth receiving gender-affirming care, which is something we talked a bit about on our last episode. So now that's a temporary restraining order. It doesn't mean that they've won, but one of the things you have to establish in order to accomplish or to get a temporary restraining order is you have to persuade the judge that you have a reasonable likelihood of succeeding on the merits of the case. So it's a pretty good sign when a judge enters a temporary restraining order or a preliminary injunction, because you have to make that threshold showing before the judge will issue the order.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big deal and it's a big win. So that was fantastic. But that's an example of how not only how dedicated they are, but how good they are at what they do, how quickly they respond to the changes that are happening in our country right now, and how effective their advocacy is. Now, they work with a number of great law firms and other organizations, because no one organization can really do all this work on their own, but they're right at the heart of it. And I think that that's really important right now. And I'm just really, really proud to be involved in this organization. The event takes place May 9th. I think it's at 6:30 p.m. We'll put some more information. It's a Friday. It takes place at the Art Institute of Chicago. So if you're local or you happen to be in Chicago that weekend or whatever, you're more than welcome to come and join us. We'll put a link in. If you're not able to attend, make a donation if you can. This is really important work, and I'm one of those people who's always a little uncomfortable asking people to donate money. We did fundraising for an organization called Team in Training years past.
Yes.
Which funds leukemia and lymphoma research and related things. And, it's always a little bit difficult to ask, but I'm asking, we're asking, because
Yes.
this is a really important organization, and it's a really important time right now. This is, we're facing the kind of crisis in our country that sort of defines who we are. When Trump will say things that are offensive, and people will say, well, that's not who we are as Americans. Well, it's time to kind of show who we are as Americans, because currently it's unclear. When a majority, not a majority, but a plurality of people who showed up at the polls voted for this person, and he clearly, obviously won the Electoral College as well. So in terms of the number of states that went for him, it's a significant number. We have to ask ourselves who we really are, and this is a time to say, we're not like that. We really aren't that kind of person. We're not Trump. We're not Elon Musk. We're not haters. So I think it really, really matters to step up now. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. But donating to organizations that have a proven track record in fighting for people's rights, that's a pretty good start.
And the whole time Lambda Legal has been in existence, it's been all through fundraising. So that's where they are able to do all these things and accomplish everything is from the generosity of people. But the other part of it is, what we were talking about before is like getting involved in things.
Yes.
Which for us, we're homebodies. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Bring back COVID. We want to stay home. No.
Well, and it's kind of true because, I do enjoy being at home, so that's fact kind of thing. Although we do like meeting people, and we've got the walking club and things like that.
You do. You drag me along.
Plus one. But in this instance, we had this call this week and met people that we would never meet these people just in our regular life because our paths would not cross. We're almost to Wisconsin. So right. There's that. But it's just an opportunity to get involved in something that's meaningful and impactful, but also to try to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and then get involved and meet other people who you would never meet, which is kind of nice. Because one of the things that we've talked about before in past, even on our first Instagram way back in the day, is just how it is to we've almost been up here 4 years. So it's like not that we just moved up here from our hometown, that we lived in our whole lives. Our kids are grown, and just like meeting people as adults in a new town when you don't have like that school system, they're not on going to clubs, you're not going to games, you're not meeting parents in that way. It's kind of hard to meet new friends, kind of thing. So right. If you think about it, see if there's anything that's in your community that is something that is impactful that you can put your stamp on and create something, because we're excited about this. David did it before, so just being in the planning of this whole thing is going to be so fun. The majority of it is seeing how much we can fundraise, so that's exciting too.
Give till it hurts,
I'm gonna
people.
Reach out to Oprah and Michelle Obama. So
your close personal friends,
my best friends, and just see, hey, just if you want to donate, that would be super.
It would be.
Or come to the event.
Or come to the event, or be on our podcast.
Yeah,
we had Bruce Springsteen on our show.
We could ask Bruce.
We could ask Bruce.
Bruce
would do it.
He'd probably do it.
Bruce would
We're your
do
biggest fans.
Well, loudest maybe. I don't know if biggest. But yeah, and I do think, we also sort of a related point is that in stressful times, and I think this is a stressful time, which is sort of an understatement, but it's one way to put it. I do think remaining connected with people is hugely important, family and friends, mm-hmm. and, any kind of, civic organizations that you're part of, if you're a churchgoer, that kind of thing, that can be really beneficial too, I think, for people. But isolation is sort of the enemy, I think, in difficult times. If you're isolated and you're, people call it doom scrolling. I said last night, I'm looking at Blue Sky, which is actually not a particularly terrible social media platform, but the news is terrible, and people will post a lot of stuff
And you're like, what now?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And if that's your only, I mean, it's still a way to connect with people, but if that's your only way to connect with people, that's kind of grim, to be honest with you. No offense to the people I'm connected to on that platform. They're all lovely people. But you do need to actually have like real connections with people and so forth.
And even though this initial meeting was virtual, there is going to be opportunities for us to meet in person. And I think that's the other key too. And one of the things that, being connected to people online is great. You can feel part of a community. I have lots of friends that I consider friends in real life, even though we've never met, which is nice, and to check in on each other. But like having that personal connection where you could actually talk to somebody in person and things like that. I mentioned the walking club before. We've got a great group of people that are there. That's the person who runs it is running for mayor of our town, so we could be connected to somebody who's very influential.
We're gonna be the puppet masters.
Yes.
We're gonna be the power behind the throne.
He doesn't know it yet. But we're gonna tell him what to do.
Yeah. Probably not, but he's a nice person, so we like him.
And we did see at our local library, they're going to start an adult improv class.
Yeah,
so I said to David, I'm like, that's next.
Yeah. We're going to be like Michael Scott doing the CSI episodes or whatever it is. I'm not even sure. Law and Order, I don't know.
Exactly.
I never watched those shows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then like you were saying too about, there's just so many things going on right now. And I think that one of the things, I don't think Trump knows what the heck he's doing regardless, but the people behind Trump and the people who are kind of telling him what to do and advising him and so forth, I think one of the things they're trying to do is just do so much that people feel overwhelmed and don't know how to respond. And that's why, although, you should be involved in whatever you want to be involved in, I think that it really matters to find maybe one thing or a group of things that you feel very strongly about and work hard on those things, because if you do that, I think you feel like you're making some headway. Whereas if you're, just playing whack-a-mole, going after every crazy thing that pops up and trying to figure out a way to respond to every single thing, it's overwhelming. So for us, it's LGBTQ plus rights. Mm-hmm. That's something that matters to us. We feel like we're part of the community. We have family members who are part of the community, and we want to do everything we can for that particular group. That's not a matter of saying this one issue is more important than,
for sure,
climate change or economic justice or anything else. It's not about. There's a writer that I followed on many platforms named Emily Hauser, who is she's actually local, not in our town, but in the Chicago area, and she writes a lot about Israel-Palestine issues and other things, and a lot about social justice. And one thing she always says is, it's not the oppression Olympics. It's not this group suffers more than that group, or this group it needs more of our attention than that group.
For sure.
And it's the same thing with kind of all of these issues, not just social justice issues. Every issue has its own merits, and people need to be dedicated to, if you're an environmentalist, go for it. That should be your thing. Go for it, and the rest of us should support you in it.
That is a good way to look at it, because I kind of think sometimes that does seem like, well, no, you should, help with what I'm doing, and, kind of thing. And it's not a fight.
Right. And I think you can find the issues that matter most to you. And there may be a number of different reasons. It may be because of friends and family, or whatever the reason is. You don't have to justify the reason, but find the thing that matters most to you. And then support people who are doing other things. If you can financially, that's great. Or however you can show support, do that. But, you focus on your own thing, but support other people who are doing other things. And then that combined effort, I think, is actually what makes change.
Yeah. And I also think it's important too, in conjunction with, maybe helping an organization or helping somebody in your community, is also to find things that could be creative. And maybe even try things. So David and I, it was pre-pandemic, but we started taking guitar lessons.
We did.
At the Old Town School of Music.
That's why I have a guitar tattoo that matches Bruce Springsteen's guitar.
Exactly. That's the guns.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Should have warned you first.
That's why you listen to the audio instead of watch the video.
Yeah. But there could be all different kinds of things. So that's something in our adult life we never thought we would try.
Yeah.
But we did it for a few years. I haven't been at it as much as you've continued it, but that's just another outlet. I like making jewelry. I like cooking and baking and things like that. So that's another alternative to bring peace into your life and to China. It is hard to walk away from social media when there's like so much going on. And even David and I were just talking about this week is like, I think this is too much, kind of thing of just like, spending so much time looking at things that, not to say that you have to ignore what's going on, because that's not what we're asking you to do at all, but also to just maybe limit the amount of time, and I'm talking to ourselves too.
Yeah, exactly. We need to hear this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We're talking to you, Dave and Jen. This is an intervention. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe it should be.
Of just stepping away and just focusing on things that bring you joy in your life, because it makes a huge difference. Because, like you say, it is doom scrolling when you are just constantly being bombarded. Even if you're not necessarily, you have like follow people on various platforms, the suggestions of things that pop up in your thing, will bring things that you didn't really necessarily want to, kind of thing. So there's also that reality too of constantly seeing things that you may not want to be involved in, or getting in some kind of like, not argument, but like, just kind of like
people
mad at things
do argue on social media. I
know.
You'd be surprised to learn that. Yeah.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah. Right. And the other thing I'd say is, if you're on social media, kind of a related thing, if you're on Blue Sky, or God forbid on Twitter or something like that, one thing that you can do, it's fine to post about politics and such and social issues, because, it is good to build a community of people who care about these things, and it's good to connect with other people who do. But also, what I notice with a lot of people that I follow who post a lot about these kinds of issues, they will also post about the kind of things you're talking about. They'll post about music, they'll post about cats, a lot of cat pictures, a lot of dog pictures. The TV shows that they're binge watching or whatever it is, to say, look, we're three-dimensional people. We have these other interests. It's not just obsessing over the decline and fall of the United States of America. They care about other things, and that helps too, because if there's somebody who you respect a lot, and you want to hear what they have to say or read what they have to say about certain issues, it's nice though, while you're scrolling down there, to see some of these other things that they're interested in. I've connected to a lot of people through Blue Sky, because on my profile I talk about being into punk rock, which was kind of my era back in the day.
It's your jam.
It's my jam. And that's connected me to a lot of people who have similar interests in music. And then it turns out, to no surprise, a lot of those people have similar political views and social views.
Right. So that helps.
That helps, but it's nice to have that balance where you're somebody's posting about some crazy thing that Trump is doing, but then they're also, here's a picture of the Ramones from 1980 at CBGB's or something like that. It's cool. It's a nice break.
Yeah, and I think since most of my following are food-related people, that brings me so much joy, because I see people who are, starting to cook, professional cooks, whatever, and seeing everything that everybody's making. There's one show that I watch every week. David joins me with. It's The Pioneer Woman.
I do watch that along with you.
Yes.
Most Saturday.
Even though I don't really make would probably make very few things that she makes, because a lot of them are very high caloric, I would say. Lots of sticks of butter.
I don't think she would deny that.
She would not deny that. But it's like a show, like one of the things I've talked about too about Food Network is it used to be a show about showing people how to cook. And now it's like competition shows and things like that. And it just kind of like brings the joy out of it. But she actually here's what I'm making. This is how the ingredients. This is how you make it. I'm baking it and putting it together. And this is how, you serve it. So even though I wouldn't make some of the stuff that she does, it is a show that I enjoy watching and Thanks for watching it with me.
You're welcome.
It's my
And
Saturday
then
morning.
we go and try to find old episodes of Jeopardy on YouTube.
Yes.
And watch old episodes of Jeopardy.
Okay, so if you don't know, so we're big Jeopardy nerds, and
We're Jeopardy nerds.
we watch it daily. We record it and then we watch it while watching dinner. And our grown son Mark, who lives with us, also watches it. Also gets a lot of the answers right.
More than we do.
So he's very, very smart. But they used to show on another platform, I want to say it was Play-Doh, old Jeopardy episodes, like 500 episodes old. So you could just go do a deep dive and everything like that. Pluto. What did I say?
You said Play-Doh. And we don't even have little kids anymore, which is remarkable.
It is Pluto. That is so funny. Thanks
well, when you said it at first, it sounded right. I'm like, yeah, Play-Doh.
And people are like, I can't find that number. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, that'll be our $1 million idea. We'll start.
I'm writing it down right now.
Right.
Play-Doh.
Yeah.
But they used to have old episodes that we could watch on the weekends and stuff like that. But whatever the contract they had with that their contract ran out, and so they're not showing it anywhere. Yeah. But the funny thing is if you there's people who recorded full episodes and put it on YouTube that are free. But then there's some. Literally, it was like, and this will be like from 1980s, 1990s, maybe somebody with a camcorder recording it from their TV. So the quality isn't so great, and the commercials are insane. And it's like, why did you put this up on YouTube when it looks like this? So we've had to laugh about that.
I think a lot of them were recorded on a VCR because you think about the early 80s. I think that they brought the show back in like 84 with Alex Trebek. Mm-hmm. 83, 84, I can't remember. All I know is that my law school roommate was obsessed with it, and that was 84, 85, 80, well, fall of 84 and spring of 87. And we would watch it back then. And then I stopped watching it for a while because, I don't know, life went on. Yeah, because of life. And we started watching it again. I think we started watching it again during Matt Amodio's run.
Yes, we did.
Not that we hadn't seen it at all in between, but we started watching it like religiously. I think it was Matt Amodio.
I think so too.
And then there were all the, obviously Ken Jennings is in the past and James Holzhauer was in the past. But then Matea came along and did really well. Amy Schneider did really well. And I feel bad because I always forget his name, but he was the rideshare driver guy who was,
I know.
I really liked him too.
He was really good.
Anyway, so and it's bad because you shouldn't ignore or overlook people who win like one game or whatever because they're smart people too. But I like it when people get on those runs, and then I feel disappointed when it comes to an end. Yeah. I don't know why.
It's kind of like, is it going to keep going? Is it going to keep going? And actually, we've seen some of the people that have been in later Tournament of Champions, like on their first run and some of the early ones. So that's
Brad Rutter.
Yes, who was I think won the most money or something. I think
he actually did win more money than Ken Jennings, but that may also include some of those like not just the Tournament of Champions, they have like Jeopardy Masters and all these different things.
Right.
And some of those prizes are astronomical. I think one of them was like a $2 million prize.
Yeah. So that's our I wouldn't say guilty pleasure because it's just something that we watch.
Although I have to say, for the love of God, Jeopardy people, stop using J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter for clues. We're tired of it. And even worse in a way is let go of your obsession with Ayn Rand. Nobody takes Ayn Rand seriously.
And those come up so frequently.
Oh my goodness. It drives me nuts. One of the funniest things was we went back and saw an old episode and they had a clue about J.K. Rowling. And that J.K. Rowling was the answer. But the clue was something like this writer used her initials rather than her name, Joanna or Joanne, because she didn't think her books would appeal to boys. And the answer was J.K. Rowling. So in other words, she wanted to be able to pass herself off as a different gender,
right? As
a writer.
But she hates transgender.
But she hates transgender people.
Yeah.
So just let that sink in. Sit with that for a moment.
Right. Exactly. So that's just another example of just kind of like, finding something, either like a show that you like to watch or whatever, that you can just get away from all this nonsense, because it just is getting worse every day.
And speaking of shows, we did actually start watching
the
show that we mentioned on the last episode with George Wallace and Laverne Cox, Clean Slate. Again, if you didn't see the last episode or hear the last episode, it's a show that was actually Norman Lear's last project before he passed away, and just started airing earlier this month in February.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Right, and it is on Amazon Prime, which we didn't recall when we recorded the last time. But anyway, George Wallace plays this elderly guy in a small town in Alabama. Laverne Cox plays his daughter, who had moved off to New York City, where she came out as trans and transitioned, and then
was estranged from her dad.
Was estranged from her father, and then came back and now is living with him, and it's about their relationship, and it's really well done. And I, speaking of Blue Sky, which I mentioned a moment ago, on the Blue Sky platform, I follow George Wallace, and he had posted a thing about the show, and so I responded something along the lines of, thank you very much. We have an adult trans daughter, and this means a lot to us. And he responded, and he said, love to you, or something. It was really, really nice. And,
exactly.
So we definitely watch the show. Now we're huge fans.
Exactly.
He's not just the doctor in the ambulance in Seinfeld who's bewitched by the Eagles song.
Exactly. That's an old reference.
That's an old. We're old people. We met when Seinfeld was just hitting its stride.
Yes, and actually at the time, do you remember I was working in a bar?
Yes.
Part-time, and I worked on Thursday nights, and sometimes you would come and hang out at the bar with some of your friends, and it would be on TV.
It would be. Yeah, that's right. I'm one of the few people who probably remembers the fact that it began on a Wednesday night originally, and then when it got popular, they moved it over to Thursday. Anyway, we pepper everything with Seinfeld references, and I apologize.
I don't apologize. That's just who we are.
Well, I have a lot of things.
That's just who we are.
I have a lot of things to apologize for, but so maybe that's not one of them. I don't know.
So we hope you enjoyed this episode, and there's so much to talk about, and there's so many things that we hope that you got from this episode. We're going to leave links to the things that we talked about, especially about the Bond Foster fundraising things, because like I said, as we get more deep into this committee and before the gala, I need to get a dress for a gala.
Yeah.
Then
I'm getting a tuxedo.
Yes. Are you going to get a blue tuxedo like Tom Hanks?
No. I thought you were talking about all the trendy,
short.
Yeah.
No socks.
No socks. I'm not wearing socks. Although I don't think the trend isn't necessarily to go sockless. It's to wear socks that you can't see. The problem is it looks like you're not wearing socks with your shoes.
I know.
And that's not an image that I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. Tiny clothes. No, we're not into that.
Except for t-shirts that we bought in Europe.
You can try them on. Maybe you could have tried it on.
I don't know about that. I've never seen anyone do that at a concert. Can I try that one on?
Right, because it was just like a thing. They were just like
they're just smaller people than we are.
But we'd love to, if you have any questions or comments for us about anything we talked about in this episode, you can always leave a comment on our blog at intheshadowoftheeveningtrees.com. You can also send us a direct message on our Instagram at Jen_and_Dave. I think last time you corrected me, but I said Jen and Dave. It's like, it's not that.
Well, it is, but it's a little more complicated.
You had to like spread it out. Yeah. Because it turns out Jen and Dave are popular names.
Other people have taken them. All those other people are imposters.
Exactly. So if you see Dave and Jen, or Jen and Dave, just make sure that it's our faces.
Just make sure it's the right
legit. That it's verified.
Accept no substitutes.
Exactly. But you can also leave us a direct message so you can communicate to us that way if you don't want to leave a public comment. So just let me throw that out there, because you just never know.
You never know.
You never know. So, and we'll let you know how our date night goes tonight. We're going to a new restaurant we've never tried. So, in the town next to us. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll share that next time. So see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.